is FPL Pickle and welcome back to another video. So today we have my game week 12 Pickles preview video, pre-international break Pickles preview. I'm planning to do two, but what we'll focus on today is go over how my game week went in game week 11, talk about the highlights of the game week, and then also some early thoughts and dilemmas that you guys have. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give the video a like and also consider subscribing as well. I'd really appreciate the support. So before we move on to the highlights of the game week, I'd just like to quickly show you how game week 11 went for me. And I did activate the bench boost, and unfortunately it did not go well. I only ended up on 8 points, which was a little bit of a stinker. But overall, I still had a very good week. I ended up on 59 points, which was actually quite a high score given the catastrophe that this game week was. But thankfully, anyway, I ended up on a big green arrow from 1.6 million to 912k. I'm finally under a million. I'm so happy. Obviously, we've still got a lot of work to do, but to just get to that point felt like quite a relief for me. So yeah, overall, it was a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest, in terms of how the team went. Newcastle, unfortunately, again, didn't keep a clean sheet, and Nick Pope even went off with a concussion, so that wasn't ideal, but compared to the likes of Araya, he still did okay. Speaking of Arsenal defence, obviously this time, they did not give us the clean sheets that we are very much used to by now. In fact, they conceded 2 goals against Sunderland, so 1 point is each for them with no DEFCON, which was a little bit frustrating. Richards, though, a 0-0 game, which was surprising, but he got us DEFCON, and that was a nice little cheeky bonus for me because Richards is still very lowly owned, so I was happy about that. Saka as well, scoring a goal, getting DEFCON again as well, managed to keep it because he had 12 overall. And yeah, I was tempted to captain him, and I don't know whether you noticed my thumbnail on my team selection. That was intentional, but I thought Haaland was the safe bet. And to be fair, if Haaland had scored his penalty, it probably would have been a different outcome and he would have outscored Saka, but he missed his pen, so it is what it is. And yeah, the midfield, pretty disappointing. Enzo really should have got something in that Wolves game. I don't know how he didn't, but he was unreal, to be fair. Sarr had a few chances as well, but no goals for the Crystal Palace players this game week. Semenyo probably being the most disappointing of the bunch. Penalty miss as well, and just recently hasn't been it, but he's got good fixtures coming up, so knowing what to do with him is a little bit of a difficult one. Mentioned Haaland, like I said, did get a goal, but there was a penalty miss as well, so didn't end up being the best captaincy shout, but at least he got the points. And Voltemada and JP, Voltemada getting a fairly lucky assist and JP getting a goal, which was nice. So that was good. And like I mentioned, the bench boost, it went pretty badly. I know it looked bad, and it was one of those that did just go bad. But like I mentioned, bench boosts are so unpredictable. I could have activated it last week and done well because Xhaka got a 10-pointer. But it's fine. You know what? I'm happy it's out the way. Maybe because we have another chance this season, maybe the next bench boost will be better. Completely forgot to turn off my ringer there. But anyway, like I said, hopefully the next bench boost will be better. Overall, like I said, I'm very happy with how the game week went, and I feel like we're getting somewhere now, and I hope to continue that. So let's now talk about how my predictions did in game week 11. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is my Pickles predictions section where I come up with 3 predictions each game week. And unfortunately, again, I didn't get any predictions right, but like you can see at the bottom, I'm trying to get to 10 predictions across the season, and we're up to 6 so far. It will be £100 that I'll be donating to a charity of your choice once I surpass that threshold. So if you have any charities in mind that you'd like me to support them, please let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, bit of a stinky one as well this week. Haaland will blank against Liverpool being the first prediction. Following the pen miss, I thought maybe this one is actually going to come true, but he ended up scoring, which was nice for my team, but yeah, that meant the prediction was wrong. Second one was Forest will keep a clean sheet against Leeds. They did not. It was 3-1 in the end, so yeah. And then finally, the third one, Chelsea will win a penalty against Wolves. I thought, you know, Wolves have lost Agbadou because he got sent off in the previous game. They're probably going to be even more clumsy because of that, because they'll be weaker, but no, there wasn't a penalty in that game. So it's what it is. I'll be talking about my game week 12 predictions in my next Pickles preview video, which I will do once all the international games are over, right before the next game week starts, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's now talk about the game week 11 highlights. So guys, here we are. These are the first 5 games of game week 11. And to start off with, we're going to talk about Tottenham versus Man United. That ended up being a 2-2 draw, which was very interesting. Man United looking very much like the better side, but then there were two last-minute goals. Tell came on and scored, and then Richarlison scored as well. But then at the very last minute, De Ligt got a header, which gave them a point, which I think they did at least deserve, to be fair. Mbeumo getting the first goal, of course. Obviously, we've been talking about Mbeumo versus Bruno, and Bruno did get an assist in this game, but just seeing how good Mbeumo has been and how creative he is, he's on set pieces and things, and I do wonder whether Mbeumo is the one that provides better value for money at the moment. But the gap is getting smaller because Mbeumo is going up in price and things. So yeah, but he did get a return, which was very good for owners, and it was not nice for me because he was quite a big rank threat for me. Lamens making two important saves to deny Romero, huge chance, and Polina as well. He was really good in the game. A very good upgrade from Onana, I'll be honest with you. Also, the thing with Richarlison, obviously I'm aware that it was very close to the end of the game and he got the goal that seemed like the winner. But just like, it's not the first time he's done that and then like taken his top off and celebrated and like been really like about it, and then the other team get a goal back. And I don't know, I find it a little bit cringe, but sorry if I'm stepping the mark there with that one. Moving on to Everton versus Fulham, that ended up being 2-0 to Everton. Fulham really struggled in this game. They couldn't really get into it, and Everton were very much dominant. They had 3 offside goals. Then there was a Dewsbury Hall offside goal, Tarkowski one, and he was the one that basically nearly scored, and then Gay got it in the end. And who else was it that... Oh, Barry had an offside goal as well as missing one big chance, and Beto missed a huge chance as well. So a lot of goals that were going in or nearly going in. So yeah, Fulham just didn't have a good game that day. Keane got a goal as well, so he definitely got a haul. Yeah, there's not much to really say. Fulham just no big chances, had a few shots, but didn't really create all that much. So a little bit poor from them. Anderson getting DEFCON, but wasn't really a huge score nonetheless. Then we had West Ham versus Burnley, which was a goal fest, 3-2 to West Ham. I think Burnley got a goal very close towards the end, but to be honest, data-wise, West Ham did dominate. Wilson scored, Souček scored, and even Walker-Peters scored. Paqueta getting an assist, but he got a yellow as well. And with the goal that was scored at the end by Cullen, Areola had a little bit of a stinker. He just couldn't grab the ball, and then it ended up being put in the back of the net, so that was unfortunate. Dubravka was also quite poor in this game, just wasn't very good at all. And as an owner, I wasn't expecting much anyway from the bench boost, but he was very disappointing, to be honest with you. I think he did get 3 saves in the end though. And Florentino once again getting DEFCON. So yeah, quite an interesting game. It's good to see that Burnley are scoring some goals. But yeah, I think with the addition of Nuno, West Ham are starting to get a little bit better. Then we have Sunderland versus Arsenal, and what a game this was for Sunderland. What a point to be able to bag at home. They are undefeated at home even now. They've just been incredible this season. I think they're a team that really do deserve to stay up. I feel like this is the first time we've seen the likes of Gabriel and Saliba being actually rattled. They looked quite rattled in this game. Ballard getting in a goal and an assist. It's not the first time we've seen him haul. Robbie getting that last minute goal as well. Absolute scenes for them. Xhaka, he played very, very well in the game. DEFCON all over the gaff, but in terms of FPL returns, there wasn't much for me there. But it's what it is. I got the instinct right that Sunderland were going to do well in this game. So there's that at least, but it is what it is. Because Gyökeres was out, Marino took his place, and he got an assist for Saka's goal. And as an owner, that one was quite nice. And Saka even getting DEFCON himself again, which is very interesting. Trossard with a banging goal as well. But yeah, not a very good result for Arsenal. Not what you want to see. Then conceding 2 goals as well. We know how rare that is, so I'm sure they're not very pleased with that. But like I said, fair play to Sunderland. They played incredibly well and deserved that point. Oh, Wolves. They are having a terrible season. Another massive loss, 3-0 to Chelsea in this game. They're just, defensively and offensively, they're struggling. I mean, created 0.17 XG and conceded 3.13. 3-1, sorry, I can't read, but not good. Yeah, Chelsea did really, really well. Gusto got a header goal. I think it's his first goal. Neto got a goal as well, and JP getting a goal, which was very nice. As soon as Estefao came on, I feel like he made an impact and crossed it well. JP had the space and he just whacked it in down the middle. I was pleased enough with it, but I'm sure if you weren't a loner, I bet that was quite irritating to watch. Garnacho getting 2 assists as well and also missing a huge chance. He's been playing quite well actually, to be fair. Like I said, Wolves are just struggling. Like I mentioned earlier as well, Akbadu was out, so that kind of made them even weaker defensively. They're just not having a good time at all, and they don't even have a proper manager at the moment. So hopefully we'll have to see who they end up having. It'd be interesting to see, and I hope for them that they can improve things, because at the moment I think they will be going down. Now, perhaps I need to start having some faith in my team again, but I couldn't have predicted this game more incorrectly. I predicted 1-2 to Bournemouth, and Villa ended up slaughtering them and winning 4-0. I actually cannot believe it. Villa were incredible. Data-wise, they had pretty much the same data, but Bournemouth just could not. And not to talk about the fact that Semenyo missed the pen as well. Yeah, they just had a stinking game. But yeah, Villa were incredible. The pen, Buendia took the pen and scored the pen very nicely. Onana had a banging goal as well as goals from Barkley and Marlon. Watkins still yet to produce anything. It's a shame to see. He's having a massive drought, and I hope that things can turn around soon. If there's any Rodgers owners out there, I'm sure they're feeling very robbed, because there were 2 potential assists for him, but neither of them were given, so that was a shame for owners. But at Bournemouth, it's not as if they didn't have any chances at all. Of course, there was a penalty that is part of a lot of this data, but they did accumulate 1.7 xg. But defensively, they were just bad. I feel like Petrovic was really trying to keep it together and probably meant that they didn't, concede even more, but they were quite bad. And as a Senesi owner, I was not impressed at all. He did at the very least get DEFCON for me, but if it wasn't for the good fixtures that are coming up, I'd be quite eager to sell Senesi right now. I totally missed his run of form. We'll see though. Fixtures are getting better, and so hopefully things will improve, but it's not great for the Bournemouth assets at the moment. Also, Evan Nilsson did start in this game, and to be honest, he didn't look all that good. They looked quite a bit better when Krupi came on, so I'd be intrigued to see whether Krupi may or may not start next game week. So moving on to the Brentford versus Newcastle game, and that ended up being 3-1 to Brentford, which I wasn't quite expecting, to be honest, and as someone with Pope and Voltemada, I wasn't too impressed with that. Barnes did get a goal and started ahead of Gordon, and Voltemada did luckily get the assist for that, but other than that, he wasn't really that involved in the game, and I'm not sure how much longer I'd really want to keep him, to be honest with you. Sharda getting a goal as well, and that was pretty much due to a Pope mistake. He was quite poor in this game, and then of course went off right before Thiago's penalty because of concussion. So that was not ideal. I mean, I guess it was kind of good in the sense that there wasn't the chance that he was going to lose more points, but also there wasn't the chance for him to save anything either and get the points, so that was a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, I suppose. Byrne getting a red card as well. There was a chance he had the yellow, and then there was another situation where he could have been booked again, and it was with the same player, with Dango. So yeah, that wasn't ideal, and I'm sure there are a lot of Byrne owners out there that were quite fuming and probably want to get rid of him ASAP after that. Sharda got a goal as well, and that was again from a Coyote long throw. And I've just realised that horrible typo, I'm very sorry, but Thiago did get a brace, much to my dismay. He of course had the penalty and then scored a goal right at the end due to Newcastle defensive error. So yeah, not a good game for Newcastle at all. Pope being out because of concussion, Burns now suspended. Livramento could be back for City, but it's not a great game to have them at the moment, especially with the way they're performing, and as an owner of a couple of them, I do feel a little bit worried and want to maybe move them out. Then we had Crystal Palace versus Brighton, and it was unfortunately goalless at Selhurst Park. And as a lot of people I know have, Sarr and Mateta, I'm sure people were not happy about that. Mateta was pretty poor in this game actually. He had a shot very early on in the game, but he finished it very badly and didn't really do much other than that. Sarr had a few chances, but still nothing, which is a bit of a shame. But at least he gets the clean sheet point because, of course, Palace kept a clean sheet. When I saw that Gay was out, I was quite worried. I was like, oh, that clean sheet's probably not going to happen then. But Canvok came in and he was very good actually. And yeah, it's a bit of a concern with Gay. He's not going on international duty and he's even on crutches, so we'll have to see the outcome of that. But for owners, very unfortunate. But for someone who didn't have him and he was a massive rank threat, and the fact that Palace still kept a clean sheet, it was quite good for me because I have Richards who got DEFCON as well, and he was one of the people that saved my game week. So yeah, a bit of an iffy one, that one. For Brigham was really good in this game, actually. Had 2 really important saves. Other than that, they had a few shots. Minte had a shot or 2. But Welbeck was quite quiet. They did nearly have a penalty, but Ruta basically dived. And it was overturned by VAR, and Ruta ended up getting booked in for simulation. So it was close for Welbeck owners, but unfortunately it was not to happen this game week. So then we have Forest versus Leeds, and that ended up being 3-1 to Forest. DCL was benched, which wasn't overly surprising, but a little bit. Did come on, but nothing really happened there. Stack did start and he even got DEFCON points as well, and I know a few people sold him this week, so that must have been quite annoying. Nemetra got a goal, which was a very nice finish to the bottom left corner. And then Sangare got a goal as well. No one was really marking him, and it fell back to him when Perry tried to clear it and it went in. Morgan's Gibbs-White getting a goal as well, and I think he played very well in this game. And Anderson having a penalty because Wood's out. Gibbs-White wasn't on the pitch, so it was a random punt, and I even told a couple of people to do it. But for Anderson to get a penalty, that's crazy, and he got DEFCON as well. So if anyone did punt on him for this game or just had him and started him, then fair play. Finally, we have the Man City versus Liverpool game, and Man City basically battered Liverpool. They're just not having a good time this season. Van Dijk got a goal which was disallowed, which probably shouldn't have been disallowed, which is unfortunate for them. But I think even despite that, Man City would have won the game anyway. Of course, a terrible start with Haaland getting a penalty won by Doku and then missing it, but got a goal shortly after that. So we got a few points there. Doku, though, was just fantastic in this game. Poor Bradley was getting absolutely skinned every 5 minutes. That right-hand side with Bradley and Konate is just not the one. And I feel like players such as Salah should have tried to help him out a little bit, but Doku was way too good, and he is a very good player. And I found him a bit frustrating to watch at points last season, but I think he's improving a lot. He's kind of slowing down and actually passing and making decisions to help the team. So I was very impressed with him. And Gonzalez got a goal as well. Salah missing a huge chance, but again, not really performing, which is sort of annoying to hear when you're maybe planning to bring him, but also reassuring since it's been a while since we've owned him. So yeah, those were the games in Game Week 11, and it was quite an exciting game week, a lot of curveballs. Kind of glad it's over though, but for now, let's go over some dilemmas that you guys have. Now, this might not be overly helpful, and I'm sorry if it's not, but I just thought I'd point out some players that are not going on international duty, and I wanted to. This is not everyone by any means, but just wanted to point out players that may be relevant to other people. That makes no sense. Relevant to people's teams, that's what I was trying to say. The first one being Enzo Fernandez. He's been ruled out. He's got a bit of a knee issue that he's had for a while, and he has to come off along with Neto yesterday, actually, because of their injuries. And it's probably just to let them rest, which is a reassuring thing as an Enzo owner, because I don't really want him re-aggravating the injury. Any Neto owners out there? I know there's a few of them. Came off with a bit of a groin injury, so we'll have to see how that is. Gibbs-White, maybe less relevant, but he didn't get selected this time for international duty, so he won't be playing, obviously. So if you have him, then that's reassuring in the sense that his chances of getting injured are quite low. Likes of Gay as well, who's on crutches, which is quite concerning. We'll have to see whether he's back for Game Week 12 or not, because perhaps he might be someone that you may need to transfer out, which is not ideal to be fair, especially when you probably have a lot of money tied up in him. Nick Pope, not that he would probably be starting so much on international duty, but because of concussion protocols and things, he won't be going on international duty at all. Gordon as well, because of his hip injury, still not quite fit and therefore not playing. And the same with Gyökeres. If anyone's still hung on to him, he's still ruled out with a hamstring injury, so we'll have to keep an eye on how that is. So that was very brief, and now we're going to talk about more specific questions, but I just thought I'd point that out, and I hope it was useful. Now, these were the main sort of questions that were coming up when I asked a couple of days ago what sort of dilemmas they had or what sort of things were they thinking about. And this was probably the biggest one. Liverpool. They've got some great fixtures coming up. The likes of Forest, the likes of Leeds, the likes of Sunderland. But they've just not been very good. Salah's been getting a few points, but for the price he isn't really returning all that much. Van Dijk's getting the DEFCON, but defensively they've been very poor. Gakpo keeps getting benched. Like, it's not very secure other than the likes of a Van Dijk and a Salah in terms of what you can go for. Isak's not really fit, so even then, that doesn't make Ekatike a good option. There's the likes of Soboslai maybe, but I'm worried that he's now going to be starting at right back because of how poor Bradley was. It is difficult. Like, should we be loading on them, considering how good the fixture run is, when we've seen how poor they've been? So it's something that I'm debating myself, because obviously I've rolled up to 4 free transfers now, with the intention of, when, the fixtures start to switch, that I would be using those to get Liverpool assets very specifically. And, even the likes of maybe going back to a Haaland and Salah draft. But the more it goes on and the more consistently poor they've been, the less I want to go there. And it's like, who do I go for? Because I don't really want to be punting on players that are not going to start every week. Like Gakpo doesn't feel like a safe pick at all, despite some people being insistent that he was, and then he got benched 2 games in a row. Verts is not very good. I don't know. It is a difficult one, guys. The main one that I'd probably want to target is a Van Dijk still, because they are good fixtures. And at the end of the day, despite how poor they've been, they are quite likely to go on and perform well. So I think we should be thinking about loading up on them. It's just a case of who. And like I said, that's a difficult one. The first one being Van Dijk, though, I think out of all of them, that would be the one I'd want to go for. But even then, because of how they've performed, do we want them? I'll be honest, guys, it's a tough one. It really is. I think because of how good the fixture run is, I think we should still think about putting assets in and not completely ruling it out. But with the likes of Mbeumo being a decent option and all these midfield options roaming about, it is a little bit harder to justify going for a Salah. But you know what? I'm still thinking about it, and it's something I'll discuss a little bit later as well. So I'm going to say yes, it is maybe feasible to go without them, but I'm not sure whether I'd want to risk it that badly. I would say we should maybe think about getting at least one, but I wouldn't say it's worth loading up on them at this time. But we'll see how things go. We'll see how everyone is after international duty, and then we'll make a call. It might be that I actually decide later on. It might be that in game week 12 I don't think about getting any Liverpool assets at all, and then free hitting in 13, and then in 14 I could possibly load up. But by then, though, the nicer swings already, a little bit of it's already gone. So, yeah, guys, I'm really rambling. It is a tough one, but I think it is feasible, but I wouldn't be too excited about it at the same time. Now, Newcastle assets. A lot of people who wildcarded around the same time as me were very excited about the prospect of Newcastle assets. They seemed like they were going to be really positive and good for us, but right before my wildcard, to be fair, Livramento went out injured, and I didn't perhaps think about how much that would impact them, because unfortunately it did. And the thing that worries me about Pope, I think he should be fine for City, but at the same time, he's not been very good recently, and there is that little doubt in my mind that he could possibly be benched and Ramsdale possibly be given a chance. And I don't like that. And currently, especially when it's Man City at home next, it is at home, but I'm not feeling very confident about it. And I don't normally like to make goalkeeper switches, but part of me is tempted to just go back to Sanchez, saving up a bit of money as well, and just, I would have been better off keeping Sanchez in the first place. It's a bit annoying when you think about it, but I think, unfortunately, I am considering it. The only keepers I'm probably swapping for, though, are Raya and the Sanchez. I don't know whether I'd delve that further with it, personally. Even like Alisson, we're still unsure about him, so I won't go there, I don't think. So, yeah, Sanchez probably been the main one I'd go for. But Pope, out of all of them, I'm the most tempted to sell. Of course, with Burn, I'd understand why you possibly want to sell, but I feel like, especially if you've wildcarded recently, you've probably got a decent alternative to start the likes of Senesi's, Richards, that I'm going to have to debate between the two, possibly to bench, and I hate that. So I reckon you probably, I know the burn is quite expensive, but you probably have the ability to bench him for City and then play him when the fixtures are quite nice, because the fixtures after City are not too bad. So burn, I'd be slightly more tempted to keep, to be honest with you. Voltamada, yeah, he's getting points, but he's not been amazing. I'm not that impressed with him, to be fair. So if you wanted to get a Thiago, perhaps, I wouldn't hate that at all. But that's probably the main one I consider swapping him out for. It's not a absolute sell, very much a fine hold, but equally, if you wanted to get a Thiago the form he's in, I wouldn't mind it at all. Now, I understand why people are asking this question, because Semenyo recently, especially when you think about the price that he is, he hasn't really been performing, and of course missing a pen last game week doesn't really bode people with a lot of confidence. However, the fixtures that Bournemouth have got coming up are quite good, and you can imagine that Bournemouth would have some chances offensively to do something, and I think Semenyo will be part of that. So, with the likes of West Ham, Sunderland, I just don't think right now, especially when there's home games coming up, that it's quite the right time. You can do it, but I just think it's insanely risky, and I'd probably want to sell other players before him if you're trying to get to another player like an Mbama, for example, if you can. Because I think right now it's a bit too risky. Selling him before West Ham at home would make me feel quite uncomfortable. It's all down to risk appetite though, of course, but for now, I wouldn't go there and sell him, and at least give him a couple more weeks before you let go. In terms of captaincy, there are a few options that we can consider. Of course, there's Haaland, with Newcastle away, which doesn't sound great on paper, of course, but we've seen how Newcastle have been recently. They are, of course, without Burn, they're without Livramento, could possibly be without Pope, or it might be that Ramsdale that's starting. So I don't know about you guys, but I think Haaland could do quite well in that game. Doesn't look very nice, but I think it's a game where he could do well and capitalise on that weakness at the back. So here's one. Saka against Tottenham at home is also an option, because we know defensively Tottenham are not quite there really. And it being a home game as well, Arsenal are going to be quite angry about what happened the week before, and they're going to want to get those 3 points against Spurs. Quite a big derby. So I quite like Saka as well as an option. Another option that I quite like is Mateta against Wolves away. Now, it is away, but we've seen how poor Wolves have been. Even at home, Wolves are quite poor. And I just think any player that's going against Wolves, I'd be pretty happy to captain them. And of course, Mateta's on the pens, so I would go there. He would be another option that I'd go for. Is there anyone else I would consider? Even though we just talked about Semenyo, I'd maybe consider it, but probably not. It would be lower down on my list. So yeah, I think overall, and of course Salah. Let's not forget Salah. They've got Forest at home, and we know Deitch is there doing his thing, and it is working, but it's still an option nevertheless. But I think my two favourite, I'd say, even though I didn't say it in this order, are Haaland and Mateta. Those are my two favourites, and I quite like Saka as well. So let me know what you guys are thinking. I know it's early days, but who are you thinking of captaining? Are you just going to go with Haaland? Do you want to, captain Saka? Are you going to go for a Mateta? Are you going to go for a João Pedro against Burnley away? What are you thinking? I'm really interested to hear down below. Those are my Pickles pointers. Hope that they've been useful. What I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about my own team personally and what I think I might do in Game Week 12. So guys, I'm here on FPL team just to show you my plans for Game Week 12 and what it might be looking like. Side note, this video is a little bit late today because I donated blood for the first time this morning. Here's the proof, woo! So I really enjoyed that experience actually, and I recommend anyone who is able to go and donate blood. I absolutely recommend it. It's so worth it. You're saving up to 3 lives per donation, so something I very much advocate for. But anyway, back onto FPL. So this is how my team is looking in Game Week 12, and I'm sure you can see that there's a little bit of a benching headache going on, and you're probably thinking, girl, why did you not just bench boost this? And I know, but I was worried. I was worried about potential injuries just making things worse, and we've still got the likes of Enzo who we have to be a little bit wary about. So, it's what it is. In terms of what I do, I could just keep it like this, but there's a lot of headaches. Like I said, I've got Voltemada against Man City at home, which doesn't feel great, but he should be on pens if Gordon's still out. So, yeah, I've got Richards against Wolves away, which I do quite love, but then I've got Senesi against West Ham at home, and the thought of benching that, despite Bournemouth's performance in game week 11, it doesn't feel great. So part of me is tempted to just play in a 4-4-2 like this and roll. Could do. Or I could even perhaps bench Voltemada still and actually start Xhaka against Fulham away. Especially when we've seen how poor Fulham are. It's an away game though. But it's not the worst. Yeah, it's a bit irritating though. I wish I perhaps saved the bench boost in a sense. But they're home games, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do well either. So, yeah, I'm just trying to make myself feel better. But yeah, in terms of what I'm going to do, I'm actually not sure yet. Considering a 4-4-2 though, at the moment. And then I mentioned that I don't really want to make too many transfers because I would ideally like to just roll, and that was going to be my original plan. But with Pope having the concussion and him, making quite a few mistakes, I'm a little bit concerned. And ironically, part of me is tempted to just put Sanchez back in. Saves me a little bit of money, and then going on to 13. Well, I'm probably going to free hit actually, and we'll talk about that, when that happens. I'll give you a free hit draft. I'll give you free hit drafts, and, I'll probably come up with one myself. But yeah, I'll probably free hit here. And then I've got 4 free transfers in game week 14 where we might want to be picking up Liverpool players. We might want to be picking up Liverpool players now, though. That game week looks really good as well, actually. Anyway, we might want to be picking them up now. So I have thought about it a little bit, and I have thought, do I perhaps, go with this move and just use a few more transfers? I said that I didn't really want to sell Senesi just yet, because look at the fixture run. Especially here. It's pretty good, isn't it? But at the same time, I don't feel like I'd be stressed out if I didn't have him. So I could go for a Van Dijk. Am I typing it in properly? No, it's probably meant to type Virgil, aren't I? Yeah, big old Virg. Could put him in. And then to free up that money, I could potentially get Thiago in for Brighton away, which is a pretty decent fixture. But still then, the benching headache's even worse. And I just don't know whether I can handle that, especially when I've just used 3 out of my 4 transfers. So it's an option that I've thought about. But I don't know whether I quite want to do it yet. And Nottingham Forest, I feel like they could score against Liverpool, so I don't think I'm going to do that, but it is on my mind. It is on my mind. Let's just reset the game week in its entirety, so here we are. I think my attackers, I'm fairly happy with them. Voltemada's not great, but maybe I should just start him if he's on pens anyway. It's not great, it's not great. But I think out of all the moves that I could possibly do, this is the one that I feel like I'm most likely to go for. And there might be price changes that could make me do it earlier, but because I've got money in the bank there, I'll probably wait. I don't feel at the moment it's really worth making loads of early transfers. I really don't like early moves, guys. I know I've done a few this season, but I really like to avoid it if possible. So let's just wait until at least all the games are over and we know who's fit, who's not, how everything's going. Because I just don't think this is the game where we need to be rushing to make transfers. We've got a lot of information that we need to gather, and I think we just need to leave it at that. So that's the current plan for game week 12. Let me know what you do. Would you make any transfers at all? Would you just stick with Pope? And who would you bench as well in this situation? It's quite a difficult one, isn't it? You'll have to let me know. So there we have it, guys. That is my pre-IB Pickles preview video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. I'll look forward to seeing you just after all these little games are done for our second Pickles preview video, which will talk more about players that I'd punt on specifically and some other dilemmas that you may have. But until then, see you later. Bye-bye.